Okay, welcome. So recently got back from a 8-day, 7-night trip to Texas. So it's vacation season, I know, for some of you. So I thought I'd just share my experiences with you. And I'll probably split this up into two different videos because we covered a bunch of cities. So the cities that we covered were Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Galveston Island, and Beaumont. So I think in this video maybe I'll just mostly talk about Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, and Austin. I'll just tell you overall, my favorite city in Texas, probably Fort Worth and Galveston Island and San Antonio. Those are my favorites. Least favorite, I would say Houston, kind of crowded and a little bit dirty, and also it didn't look that safe at night. And then also Waco, I just thought there was not much interesting going on in Waco. But anyway, so if you fly into Dallas, basically you're either going to go into DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, or you're going to go into Dallas Love Field. I know Southwest, I think they go to Dallas Love Field. We flew American, so we flew into to DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. We ended up staying the first night at La Quinta, ironically at the other airport at Love Field. So we were there for 8 days, 7 nights, and we actually stayed in 5 different hotels. I went with my brother, and my brother wanted to travel around a bit. He said, I don't know if I'll get back to Texas, so I want to make sure that I cover a lot of it. I would have been very happy to just do like Dallas and Austin and maybe do San Antonio and Houston on another trip, but we ended up doing it this way. So we stayed at the La Quinta Inn near Love Field. Once again, pretty nice hotel, good breakfast. So for those of you looking for a good hotel in the area, I would say that's one. That night we ate at a place called Rodeo Goat. They've got really good burgers there and stuff like that. Kind of a cowboy atmosphere. I would recommend it. Very good food there and a nice setting. The next morning we were driving to Fort Worth, and we did hit some severe thunderstorms. If you check on my channel prior to this video, I've got some video of some of the thunderstorms we hit both in Austin and in Dallas Fort Worth. So we watched the news that morning, and they actually said that on the leading edge of the thunderstorms could be some tornadoes. So we started driving, and my brother really wanted to see Fort Worth, so we started driving toward Fort Worth. I think it was the 30 West, I believe. And we're heading toward Fort Worth, and all of a sudden we hear boom, boom, and we see these big thunderstorms and big lightning bolts, actually, and hear the loud thunderbolts. And then we kind of started thinking maybe this is not such a great idea because we're driving into this torrential rain. And then pretty much we got lucky and we kind of drove through it. It didn't last all that long. So we ended up stopping on the way at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, of course, where the Dallas Cowboys play. So we just took a few pictures there. So basically it's Dallas and then Arlington and then Fort Worth after that if you're heading west, I believe. So we got to Fort Worth, and I suggest you go to the area where the stockyards are. That's kind of the nice old part of Fort Worth, not so much the modern city part. We ended up eating at a place called Risky's Barbecue. Very good food there. I had a ribeye steak and steak fries and some spicy corn dish. General manager was really nice there, giving us some places to go in the area, as well as our waiter. I have to say, everybody in Texas was just really, really friendly and sort of went out of their way. I come from big cities, and if you ask a person a question, a lot of times they'll give you a one-word answer or they'll point to it, but when in Texas, everybody kind of goes the extra mile and was just really, really friendly and helped us out. And then after Risky's Barbecue, we had a drink over at a place called the White Elephant Saloon, which was, once again, it was during the day, but it was just a really nice saloon. I'd like to actually see it at night. And then there's a place not far from there called Billy Bob's, where evidently they get big music groups, and we walked through there, and my brother talked to the bartender, and she said, yeah, on a good night, they'll get like 6,000 people in there, so it's a huge, huge place with a bunch of dance floors and stuff like that, but pretty impressive, even though we went during the day, and it was fairly empty during the day. At that point, so we were in Fort Worth, and we drove back to Dallas, and we went to Dealey Plaza. As you know, unfortunately, that's where JFK, one of our great presidents, was shot. and killed. They have something called the Sixth Floor Museum there, which is actually very detailed and very interesting. We only spent about 2 hours there. I thought it was going to be like a 20-minute type of deal. I had no idea that it was going to be that detailed. But we very easily, had we had more time, could have spent 5 or 6 hours. They have those sort of walking tours where you put the headphones on and you walk around to a different station, and it has a board and it shows you different pictures and talks about what's there and then tells you to go to the next station. I did have a little problem with my headphones sometimes, so in the end I just shut the headphones off and walked around. But we spent several hours there, and it was actually really interesting. I mean, a lot of that information, about Oswald and all that, you can just get right from the internet. But it was definitely worth going there, seeing where Oswald actually took the shot from, seeing Elm Street. If you look down on Elm Street in Dealey Plaza, there's a big X in the middle of the street, and it's where I think the first shot hit President Kennedy. So both very sad and very interesting at the same time. So after that, we drove down to Waco. My brother just had a list of things to do, and Waco was one of them. We actually went to where they had the Branch Davidian standoff years ago, and we just took some pictures out by the gate there. But overall, I got to tell you, I didn't like Waco. I didn't think that there was that much going on there. My brother had a book, one of those Texas books, and it gave us some places to see in Waco, and every time we went there, I just really was not impressed with Waco. So then we drove down to Austin. We ended up staying at the Best Western Austin Central. Now, it's a nice hotel, but it was one of these places where everything's a little bit too cramped. Like, you're sitting on the toilet bowl, and your left arm is hitting the wall as you're, it was sort of like a room designed by a bunch of accountants rather than people that actually had to make use of the hotel. And, the breakfast was pretty good and all that. So overall, I don't really have that many complaints with the hotel, other than to say that a little more space would have been nice at the Best Western Austin Central. That day, we end up having lunch at a place called Black's Barbecue. So as you know, Texas and Austin in particular is famous for their barbecue. We went to supposedly what was the most famous barbecue place, and they told us it was like a 4-hour wait. I don't even remember the name anymore. I'm sure those of you that are locals, you probably know what it is. And once again, I'm giving you my impressions of somebody that was in these cities for maybe a couple of hours or a day or two. So it's going to be very different than maybe somebody that lives there or travels to Texas all the time. So we went to Black's Barbecue. A lot of the meat was about $17.99 a pound, so I thought it was fairly expensive. And it was good, but it wasn't great. So we had some pork ribs, which I think are smoked like something like 15 or 16 hours. I thought they were a bit dry. And then we had the beef brisket, which was good. And we had the beef ribs, which I thought was very good. But once again, we spent about $75 for lunch. I think we ended up getting like just 4 pounds of meat and some potato salad. So it was good, not great. That was Black's Barbecue. We ended up going to the University of Texas, nice University of Texas at Austin, very nice facility there. I would say parking was a little bit difficult. It seemed like, of course, they set it up so that the students and the faculty can park easily. Everybody else, like, well, the heck with you. And we also saw that tower where years ago somebody killed a bunch of people by shooting some people off the top of the tower, but it was just interesting to see where it was. And that night we ended up meeting one of my sister's daughters, lives in Austin, and her sister was there, so we had dinner with them. I don't remember the name of the place. It was a Mexican place, something like Chili's, but it wasn't the chain Chili's. And then we went to a music club called the ABGB. Now, those of you that are older, years ago in New York, there was a club called CBGB's, and this was called ABGB. It's a music club. The band we saw was not great, but I thought overall the experience was good, and I know Austin has tons and tons of really good music clubs. So I did like the setup. I maybe would have liked a little better band, but I liked the setup there. And then we did a tour of the Texas State Capitol, which I actually thought was better than I thought, and it was free. And there was a nice lady there that took us around for about 30 and 40 minutes and took us to the various rooms where the Senate was, and etc. And it was a pretty good experience. Ended up meeting some friends for lunch the next day at a place called Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and there's more than one of these places. It's a chain evidently, but if you go to Austin, you absolutely have to go to Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. The beef brisket was absolutely the best beef brisket I have ever had. If I lived there, that's definitely the type of place that I would go once a week. And then they took me to a place called Mount Bonnell, which I believe is the highest point in Austin, even though it's only something like 775 feet. Although we parked at the bottom and we had to walk up these stairs. I got to tell you, at my age, I'm 57, so walking up the stairs to the top of even though it's only 775 feet, I was breathing a little bit heavy. So those of you that are older, it's too bad they don't have an elevator there. You're going to have to either take your time going up the stairs or go do something else for the day. But was some really nice views on Mount Bonnell. Okay, so in this video I talked about Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, and Austin. And I think in part 2 we'll do San Antonio, Houston, Galveston, and Beaumont. Okay, this is John, and thanks for watching.